What's up, everybody? It's that time of the day, that time of the week, that time of the month.
Oh, yes, it is.
I'm Big Papa.
And I'm Jeff.
You're listening to the good,
the band,
the ugly. I think I'm peeking out. It's not from Brownies.
Not from Brownies?
No.
No.
Not this week. Hey, shut up. It's legal.
It is. Everywhere, I think.
Well, no, not everywhere.
No.
Here, though.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
Dude.
What?
Stop down to our local place down the road.
Yes.
And I had a toothache last week. I was like,
gone now?
It was gone in 45 minutes. So is every piece of fucking junk food in my cupboard.
Yes.
Oh, dude, it was bad. Yeah. Anyways, we're not going to get, well, we just did.
We just did.
So things are good?
Yeah.
Haven't seen you
right.
since our last endeavor.
Our last outing.
Yeah, our last outing. Where was my last outing? Oh, Buffalo.
That's right. Yeah,
Buffalo. That was good. But, hey, we've got a great show today.
Yeah, we do.
Very excited to have this gentleman on. Another referral from a couple people.
Yes.
So, before we're not even going to.
I wouldn't.
We're not going to set it up.
No.
We're just going to introduce Jason Sutter to the screen.
To the screen.
From the green room.
To the screen.
From the windows.
From
to
the
windows
wall. To the wall.
It's Sutter, dude.
Sutter. Is it Sutter?
It's all good.
Sutter.
How you doing?
Sutter.
There's a big difference.
You know damn well I'll
mess this up.
Again.
Yeah.
We played a show one time and we were doing it for Syracuse University. We're up at the Dome, and I didn't know the girls weren't cheerleaders.
There's a difference. There's cheerleaders and then there's a dance squad.
So how the fuck do I know? They all had pom-poms. And I'm like, God damn, let's give it up for the cheerleaders. Man, they want to kill me.
It's all good.
19.
I don't mind.
So.
The Sutter is like the hockey players,
yes.
And usually that's how they pronounce it. But I'm the Sutter.
You are the Sutter, like Sutter's Mill.
Yeah.
In Syracuse, yeah.
Yep.
So, Jason, you're from the North Country originally.
Potsdam
area, yeah.
Born and raised, Adirondack Mountains. My backyard.
Nice. So
you love the snow, is what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I live in LA and have been here for 24 years, and I'm not going back. But
okay.
I do love it there. I love to go visit. I love so much about where I came from. I'm so thankful that I came from there and I'm not here. But I love being in Los Angeles. So there's that.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate the snow. I appreciate it.
There you go.
I appreciate it when I leave it.
Yep.
I appreciate seeing it from the plane. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Appreciate seeing it from afar.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
So you're in California. How long have you been out there?
24 years. And I've been all over before that, but I've been here for 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you were up in Potsdam, played local music up there?
Every night.
Okay.
It was incredible. If I'd been, when I went to college in Texas and Miami for graduate school. And it was amazing how when I got there, how much experience, real life experience I was able to get by living in a town with 3-4 colleges, basically within 20 miles of each other.
Right.
And bars on every corner. And, everyone wanted live music. I was spoiled rotten. By the time I got to college, I had a full scale professional career. It was awesome. Incredible. So yeah, I was very lucky. That wouldn't have happened anywhere else, I don't think.
So I think you're probably the same age as Jeff and I, roughly.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm kidding. I don't know what age you guys are, but
I'm 56.
Yeah. He's 56.
Yeah, I'm a little younger than that.
Yeah. Probably your age.
53?
Yeah. So anyways. But you were privy to a lot of the bands out of Syracuse area that were making that trip up north.
And Burlington.
Yeah.
And Syracuse, Burlington, Chicago would come through, a lot of blues. So from Chicago would make it there. There was a bar in town called Django's on Main Street. And it was incredible at a young age. It was in an alley. I would go see the movies either on a date or whatever. My mom would come to pick me up and it was scheduled at a certain time, and I would always try to schedule it at like a half hour, about a half hour after the movie got out, but which is usually around the time that the first set started at Django's.
Mm-hmm.
And you could climb up on the water meter in the alley and look through the window before it got fogged up. And it was incredible what I would see, my little brain at like 10, 11, 12, seeing incredible reggae, bands that came through town, a band called Lamb's Bread that became Death, have a whole documentary on Netflix, but I would watch them play. Yes. And it was like the deepest, dankest reggae, and just to watch and watch this drummer just literally play the same groove. And it was just like so entrancing, and like, lessons. And then 805 would come through, and there's a great drummer in that band called Frank Briggs, who I would see play, and he would play first time I saw him, he was playing all these rototoms that were amazing, and they were playing like Genesis, which was mind blowing, And then the next time, I remember one of those times, I standing there a year later, and he's playing all electronic drums, which, and it was early 80s, which was mind blowing. So now I had to get those, and I'd never seen that done before. So that was incredibly eye opening. Or looking in and seeing like like a real old blues man playing like shuffles, and seeing these cats from Chicago would come through. So spoiled. And that was just that bar. I mean, there were what were called beer blasts at all the fraternities, where they would have bands play, and pigs roasting on spits, and kegs of beer. I don't even know if the listeners even know what kegs of beer are, but like
probably not
20 or 30 kegs of beer, and it would go all afternoon, and everybody would so blind drunk. But I would go, and you could sit outside the fence and see a perfect view of the band, because they couldn't cover it up, and the band would play in this giant yard of this fraternity house, and you could go see all these amazing local bands. And there was a great music store in town called Northern Music, and those were all graduates of Crane, which was a big music school up there as well, which was very incredible, that I'll probably talk more about. But those guys all had a band called Double Axle, and they would put out records, and they were immaculate. They would play incredibly well. They would play Doobie Brothers and Steve Miller and all the, the hits of that era perfectly well. And they were always on top of it, and they were always, because they owned the store, they always had the newest, coolest gear, and they played the most, the song that before it even hit the radio, and every guy could sing, and they could harmonize, and those guys are still playing shows.
Oh, no shit.
They still come together, and we'll play like holiday shows for Christmas or New Year's and shit. So cool. It was amazing. It was amazing. And they were very supportive of little guys. Like I was playing in bands when I was like 9, 10,
right?
Like school dances,
sure.
And shit, so
yeah.
And that progressed quickly, into bars.
Jason, was it always drums for you though?
Yeah, always drums, nothing else. Still is. I'll play a little guitar. I collected some guitars here and there. It's drums, man. That's it.
Yeah.
I went to a bunch of music schools, like I said, and but I had to learn everything. I was a music ed major, but really, it's just drums, man.
Sure.
It's enough. I still have no idea what I'm doing, and on that instrument alone, I don't have time for anything else.
It's amazing how this geography, and we talk about it on a very regular basis on our show, but central New York all the way up to the northern part, Potsdam, Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse. I mean, we've got so much that we've had, that we've been so fortunate. I don't think you can go really many other places in the country and have such diversity for music and so many people that are into it. I mean,
it was insane. There was a music camp that would go on at Crane. It was called CYM, Crane Youth Music. I was in it since I was 11, and dudes would come up from Syracuse, and they would come up from Schenectady, and they would come up from Saratoga, and they would come up from Albany and New York City and Jersey. And these kids would come up, and man, everybody from those areas brought all this information. I was like, wow, everybody has a scene where they're, because a lot of people aren't aware of the SUNY system, the State University of New York schools. So SUNY Potsdam, SUNY Fredonia, SUNY Binghamton. So much has come out of those schools artistically, so many scholars and so many musicians and so on top of that, when you go to say SUNY Fredonia, they had a music program, they had an art museum, like a gallery that would have shows changing. And these colleges had art sculptures in every campus. Like you don't see that in the South, where I went to school. You don't see that in Miami. You don't see that in Texas. You don't see that in Potsdam. In Potsdam, it was like literally you walk out of class and there's like a Warhol on the wall that someone had bought. It was like art was important, and it was just there, just barely out of reach. You know what I mean? It's amazing. In the halls of the campus, you know, in front of the library is a massive sculpture by a famous sculptor. You know, it's like, and that's the same with all these SUNY schools. So, you know, being that proximity to New York, like I'm an art collector, I'm really influenced by fine art. And my father was a sculptor who taught at Potsdam as the chairman of the art department for years. So I was immersed in that, and then going to Manhattan all the time because he would show there, you know, in the 70s and 80s. So that's something a lot of people can't even fathom, that if you're not there, and you take it for granted, but it's incredible that we grew up in such a artistic, you know, and these kids would come from these Syracuse and they'd bring all their stuff from Drone Sound, you know, or Albany, or not, you know, or sorry, I'm thinking of Albany, and these crazy drum shops that were like music stores. And there was just so much action because there were so many colleges. And so they needed so many bands, and those bands needed cutting edge equipment. You know, it was a very exciting time for gear and live music, which, you know, sadly, I think if anything, thanks to the phone, you know, we're seeing a decline in all that. And I was coming up in that early era where the guys who were playing in cover bands, who were playing Journey songs, were getting more action than Journey.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
like, it was, absolutely. You were a bigger rock star overall because, you know, you were playing every college, you know, it was just crazy. These guys were my heroes. You know, we could see, it was like, what do you want to do? I want to do what that guy's doing right there. And it's so close I can touch it. And I'm playing in this band, and we're doing what they're doing, you know, faking it till we make it in the little dances and the, you know, dance contest, and we'll play for the hour while there's a break, you know, and the next thing you know, we're moving up to the high school. And the next thing you know, we're, you know, charging money, and I'm drawing up contracts, I'm negotiating, and, you know, I'm doing all this as I'm in high school, and I'm playing with the guys who are older than me in the beer blast. Now I'm playing the beer blasts, and now I'm playing. So I have to say, it occurred to me recently that, like, I was playing at like 16 with guys who were like 30, 35, right? Who were very young, and there weren't a lot of great drummers. So, you know, the cream would rise, and I was young, and I played just enough bar gigs where like I had my shit together, and my parents were cool with it. And, and I had a work ethic, and so I was pushing these guys a lot of times at 16, you know, like, come on, dude, you got to get the lyrics right, or, you know? And so, I have contracts. I was in charge of like, I did all the high school dances, you know, and I would go to all the places, and I would sit there and I would draw out the contract, and I still have some of them. It's hilarious.
That's awesome.
And like negotiating the price for this band, and I realized the interband, you know, turmoil and push and pull, and you know, we're gonna put this much money aside, we're gonna buy the light show, which means we won't get paid for like 3 months, but once we do, we'll have a killer light show, and then we'll you know, we have to, okay, cool, let's, you know, we did all those things, we bought a truck, we bought the PA, we did all that shit, you know. And I realized I would be in professional situations at the highest level of my career, and I go like, I've been here before, and I realized it was from my professional experience from high school experiences that I had actually negotiated the personality discussion, or the ego, or the, you know, the contracts, or the heartbreak of this going south with that guy leaving the band, and there's no way you could reconcile because, you know, he's got to go get married, and you're like, how can you leave? And it was just, it's crazy how awesome. Real life that shit was for me at a young age. It was incredible. I think I enjoyed the hell out of it.
It's a springboard into being an adult when you're doing that, because you're running a business. You've got a product, and you know, that's your flag, you know, and your brand, and you're growing it, and people don't get that. And I think being down south, when you went to school down there, you see the investment in Texas. You see $1 million high school football arenas.
Yeah, exactly. That's exact.
And they focus things a little different. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly nailing it on the head. And that's a whole other experience, and that's a whole other thing. But the focus is like, you know, also being up in Potsdam, another thing that I don't take for granted is, you know, I worked at the record store when I was 15. They let me in there because a buddy was working there, and I saw some dude stealing something. I was like, you know, it was the beginning of college, and it was a packed place, and they said, and they like busted the guy, and they were like, we're hiring you. And next thing you know, it was like, I'm going to go on my lunch break, so I'm going to teach you how to use the register. And then next thing you know, like, I'm quitting like a month later. And it's like, I'm like 15 and running a record store in the basement of a clothing store upstairs. Really cool place called the Isle of You that's, I think, still there, and really cool clothing upstairs, all hot chicks who are, you know, college students. And I'm like this 15-year-old dude. Like, there's a mini head shop under there where I can like pull out a basket and sell like pipes and bongs and shit.
Yeah.
And then I'm ordering records, like vinyl records, like, you know, what I'm, you know, like, I ran a record store. I remember getting the first CD was like a Madonna CD, and it was like, oh, let's see how this does, you know. And it was I had the coolest job in town by accident, you know. And it was like, it was an incredible experience. But the thing I was going to say about that is that we had a community of young musicians. There wasn't just my band. I wasn't, you know, I had like 3 other drummers my age who were working like crazy and playing in other bands. We had competition, and it was fun. It wasn't, we were all friends, but they played that and we did this, and they, like, you know, we got, you know, and it was healthy. And it was all because their brothers had played in bands. And so they watched their brother, and they watched their uncle, or we could watch all these guys, and had these very clear, you know, paths, and you know, these guys were very helpful. But the thing I was going to say is that it forced us, growing up in this isolated community pre-internet, to look beyond what we knew. And so in the record store, dudes would come in and be like, hey, can you order this rare band? It's like Yngwie Malmsteen, and no one's heard of it yet. It's like instrumental metal, and it's like, holy shit. And another guy's like, hey, I want to get this classical record. It's like Mahler, and he's a drummer. And we're all like, and it was like, you know, we already bought a record, and then we would like pass it on. And we all like got really into like music and jazz and classical and metal, really deep dive shit that you would not be getting in the city, where you were exposed to enough shit from your radio station that you were satisfied. We were so dissatisfied because we didn't have anything where we were, that we didn't realize we were going like way out of bounds, finding really rare shit, and really cherishing it. So when I got to college, I had been so overexposed in my little cool community of musicians. It was really, I'm really thankful for that inspiration. I don't think, again, I wouldn't have gotten if I wasn't so isolated.
I remember myself, and we've had this discussion about when you, like you said, you start diving down you go down the rabbit hole and looking for something just to stimulate what's above and beyond being force-fed on commercial radio. So, you know, we're talking the 80s. Sure. I'm talking Motley Crue on leather records before they're even out, and it's a cassette, or Twisted Sister Under the Blade, and no one's heard of them yet.
Right.
And we're listening to it. We're like, yeah, this is fucking raw. This is great shit.
But also Twisted Sister, another great example of like, you got exposed to that because they were touring New York. They were going anywhere they could, but you weren't getting that in Florida, and you weren't getting that in New York or in Texas. You were getting that in upstate New York because there was a circuit of colleges that those guys played, right? You know, so you got hip. I mean, I'm with you, man. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, discovering shit way before it came out was cool because we realized we were isolated. We just went overboard in a good way.
But it helped you, like you said, it helped you develop your work ethic. And then
absolutely
you put that,
just reaching.
You put that,
and to this day, I'm a music nut, and I find at this age and having the experience I've had, and I still practice all the time. I do. It's almost like a problem. And friends of mine who are pros are like, "Are you kidding me? You still go to the practice room and just practice?" And it's like I just do. I still like it. It's like like exercise, and it just gets me out of myself. And I love playing drums. And usually I'm lucky enough to have shit to be working on or keep going or like learn this, or that. But but I listen to music more than I ever have. And I always did. And I have I'm a massive vinyl collector. I collect jukeboxes and 45s, like 70s jukeboxes for my era, 80s, like nostalgia that was in our direct subs or pizza parlors and shit, So that I'm obsessed with that, but I find I learn just as much now by just sitting and listening to the side of a record in silence as I would spending time in a practice room practicing something. To me, it's the listening and listening to these guys who did it so well. I learned more from that that's second to playing with people.
Yeah.
It's like those two things are, I think, extremely important. I don't think people listen to music anymore like they used to, and I certainly know those young kids don't. No, I'm kidding.
You're right.
But like younger kids don't. When I would, if I was dating somebody who was like much younger, and they were, on their phone, and it would just be like they'll literally listen to like snippets of music, so they know every single band, but they aren't really listening to the song. And I think it's a similar. Not sounding old and stodgy, or like whatever. But at the end of the day, younger players now focus more on the technical and not on the actual music and the song and playing as much. And I think they're not spending the time playing and to their credit, there aren't the venues to play out like there used to be. Sure, there's a million places you could play if you wanted to, but we could play at every single church would have a venue, and we would play for the afternoon thing. We played all the time. Sometimes we played 3 times a day, hauling our shit, and it was pure joy, pure joy. But what we don't realize what we're doing is we're growing and we're listening and we're reacting. And, the best way to do that is, to do it,
So you mentioned adapting, playing different venues. And I think that's what helped you grow as an entertainer, as a drummer. What was your first break? Who'd you go to first from doing the local thing that you were like, holy shit, I got this audition and this is going to be...
Good. That's a good question. I mean, I was in college. I went to undergraduate school 5 years in North Texas, University of North Texas. I did a music education major with like a performance minor, which was really just crazy. It was a crazy school. I played everything, a lot of jazz, a lot of orchestral, a lot of drumline stuff, because that was Texas.
Yep.
We were talking about. And that was big bucks, and it was a big deal. And I was like, hell yeah. And the guys in the drumline, if you were on scholarship at that school, which I was, you were in the drumline. So I had to learn that shit fast, because in Potsdam, we played Yankee Doodle Dandy on like drums from 1960 and march around the center of town once a year for Memorial Day. And we're good. I got to North Texas. I got my ass handed to me, and I took that shit very, very seriously my first year. And I got a scholarship from it. I marched drum corps, and I became a specialist in that field. And I learned to adapt through that quickly. And I also learned to listen and how to get along with all these dudes, because there were like 40 people in a drum line. And then I went to Miami and did the same thing. So I was playing anything but rock and roll.
Right.
While other guys were trying to I didn't need to do rock and roll. I was playing like orchestral, like marimba and timpani in the orchestra, and chimes and crash cymbals, and that's what I was going for, because I had the rock sauce. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I had like a master's degree in rock sauce by the time I was 17.
Right.
Yep.
And because I progressed from Potsdam to playing tons of bars and all that stuff, like I was saying. So it was nonstop. So I was fine with kind of putting that in the back burner and worrying about playing more jazz or broadening my horizon and my vocabulary. So when I went to Miami, I was a master's student. I was an orchestral performance major, but I was playing in all the big bands there. They had a great big band. A lot of great players have come from there, like Pat Metheny and Jocko, and you could go on and on. Will Lee, Mark Egan, tons of great jazz guys. Steve Morse. Anyway, those are just more older jazz guys that were influencing me at the time. And then tons of younger guys have come out, out there. And so that's what I was focusing on. But ironically, I would go home for Christmas in Potsdam, and all these dudes would come home, and you'd go back and you'd go to the bar and you'd hang out and connect with people. And a dude came up to me who'd been living in Boston. It was in a band called the Gigolo Ants, Dave Gibbs. And they were a band that got signed to I forget, but like a real record label. And they had a song in Dumb and Dumber, and it did really well. And they were touring with bands called they were opening for like the Cranberries and they were, in the Counting Crows, they were touring together, and, all these cool tours they were doing. And I was living in this world of whole other thing in college. And Dave said, hey dude, you should come to Boston. He's like, I remember seeing you when you were playing in your senior year. It's like 7 years ago. You were playing at a beer blast over at like Theta Chi, and I remember watching you going like, dude, and I'm watching the drummer that's like killing it in Boston right now, playing all the gigs. You guys play the same. He's like, if you want, I could get you an audition. There are 2 girls that are auditioning drummers. You'd be perfect. And I'm thinking like, this dude hasn't seen me play drums since a beer blast when I was like 16. You know what I mean? Like I was a baby, you know? Yeah. He's like, no, you're perfect, dude. The way you play, it's like, and I was like, all right. He's like, I'll send you the band of this kid who plays like that. And his name was Stacy Jones, and he was in a band called Letters to Cleo. And Letters to Cleo had the song at the end of Melrose Place. And this is where they were like, music mattered. And so Melrose Place, which had nothing to do with, I don't know, Letters to Cleo, they liked that song. And so as the credits rolled at the end, they played the video of this band, Letters to Cleo, a song called Here and Now. And they exploded in the college scene and whatever. It was very weird, post Kurt Cobain by a couple of years, you know, era. You know, it was a wild music era, that mid-90s where shit college radio just went nuts.
Right.
And he said there were two girls. One was Tracy Bonham, who hadn't had a record out yet, and a girl named Juliana Hatfield, who was on, like, had written some songs for, like, you know, I forget the movie with, like, Janine Garofalo and Ethan Hawke, but, like, you know, Spin the Bottle, she had a song in that, and then she was like an it girl, and she was in like My So-Called Life, and she had a record that had come out and done really well at college radio, a couple, and she had this one coming out, and everybody liked how this guy Stacy played drums, so he would fill in with them. So I get this record, you know, Letters to Cleo, and after I go home back to college after this, and you know, I'm back there early because I'm getting ready to play in the big band and do the audition, so I'm shedding weeks before school starts. And I get this record from my buddy Dave, who's like, play, like, if you can relate to this dude. And I listened to it, and I was like, this record's amazing. The band's amazing. And I played just like this drummer.
Right.
You know, like, you know, I don't know about the look and all that Dave's talking about, but I got, you know, and of course I meet him, and I go up to Boston. Dave sets up an audition. I audition for both these girls. And I meet Stacy, and he and I are like best friends to this day. He's now the music director of Miley Cyrus, plays drums with her. He's amazing. We ended up having a band. He ended up having a band called American Hi-Fi that he was the front man for, and I ended up playing drums for that, picking up that duty halfway through that band's career, and it was incredible. But anyway, and I ended up playing in Letters to Cleo for a while when he joined Veruca Salt, and so, you know, it's just like crazy how this thing happened. So I auditioned, and I got the gig with Juliana Hatfield, and literally within like a week, I was like leaving college, you know, and I spoke with all my professors. I was on an assistantship. I only had one semester left, and it was a recital. So they were like, you got to come back and do your legit recital. And literally like a month later, like everybody at college is watching me play on Conan O'Brien with Juliana Hatfield. Oh. So it was like, it went from like 0 to like 60 in like overnight. Like I'm playing Conan O'Brien, which, if you don't know, back then, like Conan O'Brien was bigger than Dave Letterman or everything combined, you know? God, yeah. And so it was like, suddenly we're playing on that. We're playing with Matt Pinfield on 120 Minutes.
Yep.
And I'm on a tour bus, and we're supposed to be going on tour with Jeff Buckley, you know, which that didn't end up happening, but it was an incredible break. That was my beginning. It literally went from like, holy shit, you know? And then I ended up, you know, finishing my recital, getting my master's degree, just flying back down. And then I joined a band called Jack Drag that got a record deal, and we made a record. We got signed to A&M Records, and then the record label got bought. You can still find the record. It's called Dope Box, and it's actually really cool. But it was a chance to like get that. I had my cake and ate it too. I was a session guy, and then I was in a band.
Yep.
And we moved to LA. We came to LA for like 3 months to make that record at Sunset Sound, famous studio. And that's when I decided I'm going to move to LA and see what happens with that. So that kind of led the way. But that was my first breakthrough. But it was like it was like huge. People were just like, what the fuck? You know, like they were like, dude, like you literally you're spoiled. Like we're all traveling around in vans, and you're in a tour bus with like a budget, and you're getting paid, and you have brand new drums and shiny cymbals and endorsements, and everyone's giving you stuff. And she was like a it girl, and you know, and but it was a learning experience too. It wasn't all wine and roses.
Right.
You know, she ended up, yeah, it was a lot, you know, that came with it. So
did you get your knowledge of this show from Rich? Who was it? Rich Mangicaro that called you?
Yeah, Rich Mangicaro told me he was about this, and I know you've done Ashley, I think, and her husband Chris, who I did share with. She's bass.
Yep, she's actually coming up.
Okay, yeah. And then Joel Hoekstra, who was on here, who I played with Cher, and we do Trans-Siberian Orchestra together, and
Ben,
yeah, Rich. And Rich, you know, Rich was one of those dudes. I got lessons. My dad traded a drawing for drum lessons for me to Jim Peterzak, the instructor at Crane.
Oh, that's cool.
And Rich was studying with Peterzak, like so many great drummers did. Peterzak's still at Crane, and he's a legend in the business as a player and as an educator.
Right.
And he's a dear friend of mine. We text all the time, and I've known Rich since I was like 8 years old.
Okay.
So, I was a baby taking lessons, and I remember seeing Rich, and he was always sweet. He was always kind. He was always, he was always treated, you could tell that, like, if I'm taking lessons from Peterzak at 8, I'm not messing around.
Right.
So he always treated me with respect, but I would see him while I was waiting with my little sticks and my book. And so it's crazy, that, and years later I would, become a Peisty endorser, and he was Peisty, Mr. Peisty for years before, he was gone by the time I got there, but, and he's a dear friend, and we go get lunch and coffee, and we, he's just, we're closer than ever.
Yeah.
It's such a cool.
That's cool.
And he's the one who hit me here.
So we get Rich cut, like, you've got to have Jason Hahn and this and that. And then at the same time, I've got Ben Morrow.
Yep.
And Ben is like, well, wait, there's another guy that you should have on if you're going to have Ashley and Chris on and blah, blah, blah. And then he mentioned your name. And then
he called me right after. And I thought, how funny.
I was like,
Ben's another one, dude. Like, I love my Ben. I love my Joel. I love my Ashley. Chris rules. I love all, those guys, and Rich, those are like, every single person you're mentioning, like, I have a love affair with all of them.
Yeah.
I love them dearly. Like, they're the closest, coolest people. We've either made music that, like, in incredible venues, or we've been to incredible places and experienced incredible musical journeys together. I'm just so fortunate to have that. I'm inspired by every single person you're mentioning. You know what I mean? Like,
that's cool.
Constantly. And when I call them, I hang up the phone, and I'm better for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so cool. Very thankful for those people.
That's how we feel. I feel that way about Ben all day long. Ben is
absolutely
what a well, both Rich and Ben.
What a sweethart.
I mean, Ben is a true gentleman. I mean, every time. How many times is he going to post that video of us?
I don't know.
So we had the luxury when Ben was in town last. He played a show here at one of our venues, and it's an outdoor venue, typical 600-800 people. So we did it, and he had us get up and.
Now, mind you, we weren't supposed to get up anyway, but we just kind of made a joke with him and said, "Hey,
we'll play.
You're going to be in town. We'll play with you."
Yeah. So
and it turned into
his backup vocalist got laryngitis or something. So he calls me. He says, "Do you think you could do backup vocals for the whole night?"
Yeah.
And it's way out of your wheelhouse. It's Lionel Richie stuff, and it's just. I said, "Send me the set list, and we'll do it." So I showed up, and I did the night, and then we did it. But
the second night, and then
he must have posted that video. Every time I turn around, it's like, Ben just posted a video of you, and I'm like, it's the same fucking video, dude.
I love that, man.
Yeah. It is. It's awesome.
It's full circle, man.
Yes.
Support your bros.
That's right.
I forgot. I should mention. When I talked about drummers who were like competition at a young age, when I was like 6, when I was in 6th grade, there was another drummer I'd heard about. I was living in Norwood before my dad taught in Potsdam, before I moved to Potsdam, and there's this other drummer, and he was like, it was either going to be between me or him for this band. And it was like, what? Who's this other guy? And his name was Theo Cataforis. And he'd just gotten, like, I had a cool vintage Ludwig drum set my dad got from, like, it's a crazy story about, like, some guy went to Vietnam. His parents had bought it for him. They owned a hotel, and he never came home. And it just sat in the attic of the hotel. And I got this drum set, and I cherished it. And I am a Ludwig guy to this day. So the drum set was, it was loved. I played it all the way till I went to college. But Theo had just got this brand new splashy drum set that was in the front of the music store. And I was like, oh no, I'm never gonna. And then luckily through the hang, he ended up getting his band, and I got my band, and we both got gigs. But then we were like competition. And then when we got to high school together, we became great friends. And he's the dude who was like the musicologist who was like literally hipping us to, like, Man O' War's first record, and like Madame Butterfly.
Yeah.
Okay.
We would, like, sit and we'd just be like, wait, it's coming. This part, and it could be Slayer, where it goes into, or it could be like the high note of, the the libretto. You know,
Yeah.
what, you know, I mean, it was like we were like at a young age, we were like tapping into this shit. Like listen to that ride cymbal that Jack DeJohnette's playing so quietly in that ECM recording that we got from Norway. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Theo now is the head of the musicology department at Syracuse University.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, really?
And you should have him on your show because he is a foremost authority, writes all the books for all the colleges, because everything I studied when I was in music school was like the beginning of opera and then the Rococo era and then the Romantic era and then, Baroque. And, Theo now writes about the shit that's going on now, like about like this band. Like, he's like, here's how you study this band. You know what I mean?
Sure.
This is the story of punk rock music, and then that's what we're doing in this chapter, right? So he's taken it to the next level, and he writes the books for all the colleges.
That's cool.
For that.
That's
so
great.
Theo Cataforis, he's the head of the musicology department at Syracuse University.
That's great.
So check it out.
I know how to get a hold of him.
The dude's gigged all the way up till he graduated, and he went to SUNY Binghamton, and could probably tell you an incredible story about that.
That's
music
cool.
school and
That's
how
great.
that had its own cool undertow of hip, artistic, cool people that he was surrounded by, many of which I've come in contact with. It was a hotbed of cool music people at Binghamton. So anyway,
well, you digress to some of the different genres that you're following. You pull up the Clash, which makes me flash back to the Dictators when we had Ross the Boss Friedman on the show, and then you mentioned Manowar, which again Ross the Boss, but the drummer Carl Kennedy started. He helped lay the demo tracks down for them before.
That first record is just, I remember listening to it, having it on tape in probably 85 or 84. And when I finally got it and Theo had hipped us to it, it was amazing. And then I found it for like a quarter when I was playing with Cher in Vegas, and I bought it again. It was like, it's kind of ridiculous looking. And I put it in, I was like, this shit is ferocious. If you don't know that first Manowar record and you like to rock and metal, and when you listen to it, this dude is so genuine. He's talking about coming from Vietnam and like, and talking about like getting arrested and like, just like real shit that happens to people, not like, and yet the playing is insane beyond belief. Like the bass player does the William Tell overture like faster than humanly possible, and there's a song that's like it's like 10 minutes long about like it's like a battle of Evermore or whatever, where they're like
Vikings.
battling, and it's like the chorus is what is it something about like in blood I take my fortune, raping the killing the it's like it's insane, but it's like you're literally like listening to it going like, holy shit, I'm at battle,
dude.
It's like an Iron Maiden thing, but so like funny. It's so good. But anyway, I could say the same shit about like a jazz thing or something like obscure, and that was cool. Growing. It was cool to like everything with this, thanks to Theo and all this posse of dudes, where it was like, holy shit, do you like this? It was like, yeah, because in the 80s, a lot of people don't realize, like, if you like Billy Idol and you didn't like REM, then you were an asshole and don't even think about sitting with us.
Yes.
And you might get back if you buy every record and memorize the lyrics and maybe cry a little bit. You might get back if you like REM enough and you can prove it to us. But if you like Billy Idol, don't talk to me again. Like, wait, you're out. Wait, you're listening to Ozzy Osbourne and you're not into Neil Young? For me, it's just like, holy shit, like the 80s, as you know, was like life or death.
It was so compartmentalized. You didn't cross you stayed in your lane.
You didn't want to tell your friends that you listened to the Grateful Dead, but you were listening to Slayer at the same time.
Yeah, because if you were listening to Slayer, you had to listen to Slayer and Motorhead and shit.
Well, if you were Slayer, then you had to wear the shirt, and you had to go to school, and you had to be a Hesher. It's like, and then God forbid you wore like a Duran Duran shirt.
Oh, then you get your ass kicked.
The girl you wanted to date was super into Duran Duran, and you cut your hair with the rat tail, and it was like, dude, you just blew it, man. All we play is Def Leppard, and now you look like Simon Le Bon. What are we gonna do?
What are you doing?
I love this shit.
Yeah. So
it was like so great though, and like you can't like that. We were so lucky to have that, and now like. Not to sound like whatever, every generation has music, but music then was life and death, and music now is not life and death.
No. They can only listen to 90 seconds of it, and then they lose interest. They're like, oh, I got to go on. I was like,
this is terrible. I'm moving on.
Even with the podcast,
Yeah.
We record an hour show.
It doesn't matter which one, though.
It doesn't matter what show it is.
Nope.
Which I mean, we could have Billy Sheehan.
I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about anyone.
No, but I'm trying to talk about us.
Oh, okay.
We could have Billy Sheehan, or we could have Billy Johnson, who's playing in a local cover band.
Yep.
If the clip for TikTok is more than 90 seconds, you're done.
You're done.
You're like, oh, fuck that. I'm not watching. It's like,
yeah, it's interesting. Also, Talus is another band that rules. Obviously,
yeah,
dude.
Local.
Yep.
So many cool bands we could go on.
So to let you know, Frank Briggs will be on the show in a couple weeks.
Oh, nice.
And so Dave Porter will be on.
Yeah, Dave Porter will be
both
on
from
too.
805.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we've got that coming up. In fact, Dave's got all kinds of. He wants to have videos and.
Oh God, Dave.
All kinds
relax.
All kinds of 805 snippets. The video.
Look out, man.
Yeah, I think he wants to play.
I got it on vinyl. I have I have a double axle on vinyl. You know, I have all the vinyl from back in the day. You know, and I'm so glad I kept all that stuff.
That's
cool. It's hilarious.
So you've got other things that you've done. I mean,
yeah.
I want you to go through your pedigree a little bit because you don't brag about yourself enough. I'd be like, yeah, well, I did this and this.
Well, guess who I played with last week?
I mean, I know you did some stuff with Cher.
Yep.
You did quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, to go backwards, the last gig I was doing, the last thing I've been doing most, recently, because she's post-pandemic, was Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and Joe Perry Project, which I've gotten to do every year since the pandemic, and that was amazing. He's incredible. The last run was Dave Hull, who was in the original band. He was also the bass player. He was on Them Changes with Buddy Miles. He's the little dude in there.
Yep.
Nuts. So, so to have Dave, to get to play with Dave is like going to school, and he's hilarious. He's so funny. And Joe is like Hendrix times 2 now. It's like he's on fire. He plays better than he ever has. And he's just, you can't even, he's just, he'll come back and he'll be playing. He'll just be like screaming in my ear, like, this rules, it's like, yes, I can't believe Joe Perry is having so much fun, because that's my job. But no, we're all having fun, I'm getting to play with you, but you can tell he's just having a great time, and he's playing so well. And it's just, all the great music that he's given us and all those great songs. And so that's super exciting. Great band with him. And then, before that, Cher, I got to do the last 3 years pre-pandemic with Cher, which was amazing, incredible. Went all over the world, started in Vegas, and then it went to Australia, New Zealand, all over Europe for like months, multiple shows at like Madison Square Garden, sold out, just forget it, all arenas sold out. Just so cool. And she's so cool. And the band was like the coolest band ever. It was like, we all go through, tours where you're just like, God, this would be great if it weren't for the tour manager. It was a nightmare. If the bass player wasn't slacking and learn the music, or, but generally the more higher you get, the less there is to worry about. With the Cher thing, it was like, that was the tour of like, for all the tours you had where there was one thing that kind of sucked, there was nothing. Everything was amazing. And
good.
And thanks to her, everything was so incredible for 3 years. And like, the shows, the hang, the band, the vibe, everything about it. The song, I'm a huge fan, so to get to play that music and all the great drummers who played on all those records. And so anyway, that was amazing. And from before that I was playing with Dee Snider, touring Europe. Right before that, literally flew in a plane from like Germany to LA, and then like immediately to Vegas, and went like set up the drums and started rehearsals the next day with Cher. It was amazing.
Wow. Wow.
And that was just a fluke with Dee, which was great, for just a few months. And then before that, I was back playing with I played with a guy named Tak Matsumoto, who's like a Japanese Jeff Beck, who plays in a band called The Bees, who's incredible. I got to live in Japan and play the Budokan, and this video of the whole show sold out. Like I'm the only gaijin, the only like white dude, like in a 20,000 seat arena, and I got to live over there, which was a dream of mine, and play, with a crew of like 60 dudes traveling, and I'm the only, dude flown in, and they were beautiful, and the music was incredible, and so that was amazing. And to live in Japan, which is like one of my favorite places in the world. And then before that, I was playing with Smash Mouth for about 3 or 4 years, which back I'd play with them in the back, years before, so that worked out. And then right before that, literally, I flew a week later, after 2 years of touring with Manson. When that gig ended, I flew right out to do the Smash Mouth thing and did that for multiple years. But I was touring with Marilyn Manson and got to play on some tracks on the Born Villain record, which is a really cool record, and do the Hey Cruel World 2-year tour with the first of the Rob Zombie collab, and touring with Alice Cooper. And we do tours in South America. It was like Kiss, Slayer, all original minus one, Manson, Mastodon. It's like,
okay,
I think that's
insane. You know what I mean? Like, I'm standing on the side, and I was a huge Kiss fan, so it was just like, and Slayer just on the best, just incredible, and just so cool, and such a great, incredible, and all these metal festivals where I get to sit behind the best drummers alive. Vinnie Paul was out with Damage Plan before he passed, and all these, you could just name it, not to mention Lombardo with Slayer, and all these drummers. I could just sit in the back and go, like, just literally go to drum metal school, and just sit behind them and just learn, It's incredible. And to get to play with them, Manson and Twiggy was in the band playing guitar, and it was ferocious, killer band. And then before that was the New York Dolls, which was unbelievable. And I got to do the final tour with the New York Dolls, which was the last two remaining, David Johansen and Sylvain was just, and then the guitar was Earl Slick from Bowie's band, legendary session guy, and then Kenny Aronson on bass. So it was just the coolest band. And we did, the final tour we did was a Halloween tour for a month in England, ending in Scotland with Alice Cooper. And I think that was the final New York Dolls tour ever. That was it. They parted ways and never again played again. And so I was on that show, on that band, which was nuts. And then before that, we did a whole summer of 3 months, Motley Crue, Poison, New York Dolls. It was just nuts.
Oh, jeez.
It was incredible. And then from there, before that, I did Foreigner. I was doing Foreigner for 2 years, which was amazing, and got to play on a live record, if you want to check it out, called Foreigner Live at the iTunes Festival 2010. You can go on iTunes and click on it. It's like $8, and it's incredible because it's all the hits. You know what I mean? And I get to play on all those hits that I grew up, playing in cover bands. And I remember winning Foreigner 4 at one of those dances that we were playing at when I was in like 6th grade. It was like, you won the raffle ticket from the local record store. Here's Foreigner 4. And I was like, lame, I'm giving this to my sister. I'm all about head games, double vision. This has all ballads, urgent. But and then before that, I was playing with Chris Cornell for 3 years, which was amazing. I got to play on a couple of recordings with him too, and just that was just beyond, and the greatest band. And what was so cool of doing that gig, of all his gigs, is that we could play Audioslave, Soundgarden, Chris Cornell solo. At that point, there were 2 or 3 records, Euphoria Morning and all that stuff. We played everything, and we could play everything. You know what I mean? So it was like we were the one band that got to do everything. It was so cool to get to do that. And then and to hang with Chris at, just, it was so great. It was incredible for him to see to the point where he could really just spread his wings and just be Chris Cornell. We went everywhere. We didn't stop touring for 3 years. It was amazing. We went everywhere he always wanted to go that the bands he was touring with didn't.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want to go Russia. Anywhere. Both bands he played, they didn't want to leave town. So he went to from Tel Aviv, Israel, to South America, multiple tours, to Europe, more than I could count. I could be a tour guide in Rome from how much we spent in Europe.
That's awesome.
It was so great. And then before that, right before that was Smash Mouth, my first time with them. I got to record that last record called Summer Girl, which is a great record with the original producer, Eric Valentine, who was amazing, who produced all those great records. It was an amazing experience. It's a cool record if you haven't heard it. It's actually a really cool record. And that was kind of, they were still like, up there happening, and then right before that, I was doing Rock of Ages, the musical. I started that musical, literally from the inception, from
Oh,
nothing.
no shit.
From nothing. We began that. Me and Dave Gibbs, who was the guy who recommended me for Julianne Hatfield.
Yeah.
And Dave and I started it from nothing, literally writing out the parts and putting the music together and bringing them over. And we did the first preview of that, which was like an hour-long show. And then producers bought it, and then they turned it into a 2-act. And we did that for months in LA, sold out, rock stars, beginning of that 80s, 90s resurgence, or 80s resurgence that exploded, and I forgot I even did that shit. It was like, oh my God, it was, it's like they went to Broadway and did great, but I was...
Wasn't Hulkster with that? Didn't Hulkster do that for a little while?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. That's how we met.
Yeah.
He was like, dude, I keep hearing your name. You were in the original band, and Gibbs just keeps talking about you. And he's like, so I figured I had to just reach out, man. I feel like I know you. And then we hit it off. And then, he went out and got the Night Ranger gig after that.
Yeah.
And that was the big gig, was Rock of Ages. That's it. And then he got the night, if I'm not mistaken, forgive me, Joel, if I'm wrong, but and then he got the Night Ranger gig, and then he got to do some Foreigner stuff, and then the Whitesnake thing, and then Cher, and here we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he did.
He arrived, rock god. Welcome.
He did Night Ranger. He did Night Ranger. So it started at Rock of Ages,
for him, and then right before I came right off that into Rock of Ages off the band American Hi-Fi, touring Japan and Europe and America over and over with Butch Walker and Bowling for Soup, and I got to do the record Hearts on Parade, which was cool. Got to do that tour, and I'm on the cover, and it was just like rock and roll, and it was a record deal, and I was part of it. Another record deal, which was like back in the day when there were these things called record deals.
Yeah, right.
And that was amazing.
Yep.
Great friends who've all gone on to do cool shit, mostly with Miley. They became her band when she was still Hannah Montana. Pretty much American Hi-Fi became her band with Stacy playing drums instead of guitar and singing. And that's still happening, And then before that, while that's happening, I'm playing with a bunch of other bands in town and auditioning. I'd done a tour with the Rembrandts post the Friends theme show.
Yes.
So that was amazing. Got to do that in there. And then a guy named Jason Faulkner from Jellyfish, who plays with everybody now. And then there was a whole other world, and that's LA, brings me up to LA. And then there's a whole other world, like Ben Lee, the artist Ben Lee from Australia, from New York scene. And then when I was doing these bands in Boston, which is a whole other thing. So yeah, I don't know if I missed anything in there, but yeah, it was cool. And the coolest thing about all those things is I tell them in real time. They happened literally that quickly. Like Chris Cornell ended, and then like literally, I forgot Vertical Horizon. I play with Vertical Horizon. I'm on the record called Burning the Days, and I got offered to do that gig while I was in Boston before they had their big hit. And I passed on it because I had my own band, and then they exploded. And then Matt years later saw me with Rock of Ages and was like, "You're playing on my record. You're my drummer in my band finally." And I was like, okay. And then I started recording on it while I was playing with Smash Mouth, and then finished it while I was playing with Chris Cornell. And as soon as Cornell ended, we went out and did a tour for that record, Burning the Days, that Neil Peart from Rush is also on, which is pretty darn cool as a drummer. And that was cool. That was in there too. So yeah, bunch of cool shit. But that all happened right, like literally, I'm saying like Foreigner ended, and like 2 weeks later, I got the call for the New York Dolls. And while I'm finishing the New York Dolls in November, in December, I got the Marilyn Manson audition and got the gig. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like crazy shit. Like I've been very, very fortunate. The gigs were literally like happening like one after the other. Like it's not like, you
didn't have a break.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I mean, the pandemic has shook a lot of that up. Gas prices, flights, tour buses, everything is so expensive. So things have quieted down a little bit, and that is okay. That's okay. A great famous drummer named Jim Keltner, who played on Mad Dogs and Englishmen and plays on everything in John Lennon, once said, it's a great quote, it says, if you've been working a lot, enjoy the downtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't fight it, and I think that's words to live by for younger people listening to this. If you're getting stuff going and it quiets down, don't don't panic. Just ride it out. It's like, sorry, the sun is is pretty crazy, but I'm a little washed out. But anyway, the point is that, you know, you got to remember to just be cool with that. If you've worked a lot, you got to be cool.
I've
try to invest.
I've seen so many guys that are doing all these the crew. It's like cruise season right now. Every time I turn around, they're all doing
the 80s cruise,
Monsters of Metal, the 80s cruise, the 90s cruise. Yeah. It's like you can work if you want to work.
Yeah.
You know, you got guys like Tyson and stuff. I mean, he's that kid. That guy works constantly. He's working his ass off.
Well, Joel never stops either. No. He's always going. You know,
because he's doing Accept for a little while.
Yeah, over in Europe. But he just got off one of the cruises. I mean,
he just got off the Monsters of Rock cruise.
And I will say, and I can tell you the same way, but just such a down to earth, genuine, good guy. You know, when I was out at NAMM and had a chance to meet up with him and sit down and talk to him, I mean, there's some people we've had on the show that I'm thrilled that I've had the opportunity to talk to and then meet in person. Joel's one of them. Marco Mendoza, another just true gentleman. You know, look forward to meeting up with you someday when you come up in town, and if you're in the area, come on out. We'll tip a couple cocktails.
Yeah, we'll go to Direct Subs.
Yeah, we'll take a pilgrimage to the Lost Horizon. So
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So go ahead.
But with all this touring you've done, who have you ever had like a fanboy moment?
I mean, you know,
I know a lot of people don't get that way sometimes, or they.
No, I've definitely had it. I'm not sure. You know, I mean, obviously, even just the gigs I'm doing, like, I'm also, here's another thing that's really important to say. Like, I like every band I mentioned.
Yeah,
like every single band I mentioned, I like. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I collect jukeboxes, and the jukebox behind me, I have Cher, Smash Mouth, Soundgarden. You know what I mean? Like all the bands, Twisted Sister, they're all in there. You know what I mean? Like I like those bands. You know, I have some friends so while I'm playing with those bands, I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. We're playing like, I don't know, My Wave with Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm staring at the Andes mountains in Chile. Or holy shit, I'm playing like Feels Like the First Time in, you know, Leipzig, Germany with Foreigner. Or holy shit, I'm in Sweden playing for 35,000 people with Cher playing like The Beat Goes On.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
like, it's nuts. You know what I mean? It's nuts to me. Like, I like all those bands.
Yeah.
I listen to those bands. I still do, which I think is a testament, you know, like, and those Smash Mouth records, you know, if you don't know those records, those first 2-3 records, man, like the production, the songs that you don't know are incredible. Like the writing Greg wrote, and, you know, love them or hate them, and you know, they had a track record of being pretty crazy and nuts, and they were. Those songs and the production is impeccable. You know, it's impeccable. And they stand up, you know, stand up. So, you know, just so you know, fanboy though, that's a good question, because there are those moments where I've been in situations where I've literally been like, holy shit. I mean, like, I remember going and doing like playing with Chris Cornell at a famous venue that like the Who and Zeppelin and everybody had played at in England, and we're playing that venue, and there's a balcony up above. It's like a theater and down, and I'm doing an interview for a drum magazine over there, and I walk out, and there's the famous rock photographer Ross Halfin walking, you know, kind of leading Jimmy Page out of the dressing room. And I get to meet him, and it's like, hey, and he's like, oh, this is Jimmy. Hey, I'm Jimmy. How you doing? Good. Looking forward to the show. And like, holy shit. And I go into the dressing room to find out that like the whole time I was doing this interview, Jimmy Page was fucking around with Cornell and the band. And I'm like, God, the fuck, I didn't get to hang out with Jimmy Page.
Right.
And then, but you know, I remember walking out, and he kind of brings Jimmy out right as we're about to play, and there's one light at in the balcony. You know, it's like an old theater, one light, and it's like a little white light so people can see where to get out. And it's when Jimmy Page first had like the white mane, you know, when he first got like, it was like white, you know, and it was like, whoa. And I watch him bring him out right before we start, and it's like right under the light is Jimmy Page. It's like you can only see Jimmy Page.
Jimmy Page.
And I remember thinking like, I have to play the best I've ever played in my life, because that guy has played the best for me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a joy, but it was one of those moments, and after that we met Robert Plant at a show and hung out, and we go on and on with those. But I'm trying to think of moments where I met somebody who was just like kind of, terrified, or like, I'm trying to think of, like, because there's so many people, and just by chance, and then they end up, for the most part, like, just, I'm trying to think of so many people.
I think the two you just mentioned are, Jimmy Page, Robert Plant. I mean, okay.
Yeah,
I remember meeting Yngwie Malmsteen, and we were in, like,
I
don't know, Argentina. He was playing a show, and we got on the list because the two guitarists were like ferocious with Cornell and like A-list, and still are, Yogi and Pete, Yogi Lonich, Pete Thorne, and so they got on the list, and I was outside, like, on the phone, and I'm walking back into the hotel, and they're like, "Dude, we have tickets to go see Yngwie Malmsteen. You got to come." And it's like VIP, and I'm like, "Hell yes!" So I go because I was a huge fan of those records, thanks to Theo and our little tribe. And so, but I remember hearing like Yngwie is like a tough hang, and he was kind of a bastard.
He's a dick. He's a total dick. Yeah.
We have a friend of ours.
So we watched the show, and it's amazing. I mean, literally, people are like hanging off the rafters in South America for like metal. Forget it. Like, you've never seen anything like it. Best shows of my life. You could literally cut the air with a knife. Like, people chanting with like Cornell, where like I cannot describe the level of fandom, especially with like rock. Like when you play there, like what I'm talking about, when I'm walking into the hotel, I'm fighting my way through like probably 100 fans who are like, making a way for me and Yogi and Pete, who are just like saying thank you and being there night and day waiting for us, because they're just showing their appreciation for us, for us coming to their country, the best, and so the fans were nuts. But afterwards, we're in the dressing room, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Holy shit, this is going to be really bad. And he was the nicest guy. We ate sushi, he had all these plates of sushi, and he was like, come eat with me. And he was like so interactive, and it was like such a great Yngwie experience.
Such a different thing than what we heard.
Experience. Because
I was at Sebastian Bach's birthday party this is a lot of name dropping, but whatever. It's Hollywood, and I don't care anymore about any of that shit. But I really don't. But I'm at a jeweler, a friend of mine who's fantastic, and she's in all the pictures. She was a Penthouse Playmate of '79, and she's a big jeweler now. And she and I hit it off, and she was like, oh, you have to come. It's Sebastian's birthday, and we have a back table at the Rainbow. It's like, and this is like 10 years ago, and I was like, of course I'll go. I don't know him well, but you don't need to know him well to hang with him. He's really gregarious. Really
I've heard that
funny.
too.
He's life of the party. But so I was like, sure, I'm going to hang with Cheryl mostly, and we're hanging out, and this dude comes in halfway through and kind of grabs a seat, like maybe next to me or one down, has a motorcycle helmet, sets it on the table, and instantly just starts being really funny. And he got there late, like an hour late, and he's just shooting the shit. And I realized after I finally look at him, it's Axl Rose. And he's just so cool, so funny, so personable, so not any of the shit that you always hear about Axl Rose.
Yep.
Right.
And he was so cool, and that's my memory of Axl Rose, and I'm totally cool with it. You know what I mean? It's like, or like, meeting Neil Peart. Meeting Neil Peart was like the moment. Like, Matt brought me to, that's a good one.
Okay.
That's like, holy shit.
Yep.
Because you don't meet Neil Peart.
No.
And if you do, he doesn't really want to meet you, probably.
Nope.
Not because he's a dick, but he just doesn't need to meet you. He just, let him be Neil Peart. Let him write poetry and great lyrics and fucking, stay out of his thing. He doesn't want to talk drums with you. He doesn't want to talk. He's very clear about that. If you haven't read his books, they're all great, amazing traveling music, and all those books are so inspiring. Just go get them. They're great.
Yes.
And so I've read all the books, and I've listened to the records till I'm blue in the face, and still do, and have like 3 copies of everything. And I do 8 tracks too. So
nice.
If anybody has boxes of 8 tracks they don't want, they can send them to you and send them to me, because I'm 8 track.
Okay.
So like I have all the Russian on 8 track. Like,
nice.
That's
awesome.
Hey, my first album was on 8 track. It was Cream. So
Cream.
Oh yeah.
Which Cream record?
Crossroads.
Love it. Anyway, so good, right? I love 8 tracks, and I listen to them in like big stereos, not just in the car or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, they sound really good. Check it out. You'd be surprised. In fact, maybe better than mine. I don't want to. That's a different podcast. But
right.
So Matt and I, it's a long story, but I end up I'm playing on this record with Matt, and I'm doing it in installments. You know, I'm playing on like 2 songs. Like I switched cymbal companies in the middle of it. You know, I switched bands. Like I said, I started before I was in Smash Mouth. I'm recording while I'm in Smash Mouth. Then I'm finishing the record while I'm somewhere in with Cornell. You know what I mean? So it was over the course of like 2 years, 3 years. And Matt, through a series of events, became dearest friends with Neil Peart. Through a watch or a car or both. No, it was both. He was looking at a car in Texas, and that he wanted because they're both car collectors.
And he bought a watch instead.
And the guy said, well, you know, you should call, you're in the music industry, you should call Neil Peart. He just came down and looked at it. And this is like cars that like are out of our level, you know, like Aston Martin's a chick, you know, or like one of 2 Porsches, you know. So it's like that level. Like, you should call this guy. He just flew down to look at it. He passed, but he could tell you, you know, about it. It's legit. So through management and this guy, Matt calls Neil Peart. And Neil's like, you know what? I'm in LA. I'd love to talk to you about this car. Why don't we meet for coffee? And he was like, okay, Neil Peart. Meanwhile, Matt is like learned all those records. He's like me. We're like obsessed with that shit, you know, like Kiss and Aerosmith and Rush, like, you know what I mean? It's like mother's milk, you know? And like one of my first shows was Grace Under Pressure, you know, in Lake Placid.
Yeah. Okay.
Adirondacks in like 1984. It was mind blowing. So, you know, so it was like the first show that had like lasers, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Wow. Like lasers were new, and Fastway opened.
Oh boy. Okay.
Say what you will.
Yeah, say what you will. Yeah.
So anyway, so Matt meets Neil, and he's wearing some rare watch. And Neil's like, oh my God, we're wearing the same watch. And so they just become like close friends. And next thing you know, Matt is really awesome and Neil is really awesome. And they like, we're going to be buddies. And they become really close. And now they're like calling each other, and Neil's writing his next book, and Matt's making this record slowly, and Neil agrees to play on his record. And so Neil goes to like Capitol, you know, Records, and plays on like 2 tracks in this massive studio that probably cost, you know, half the budget. And so Matt calls me and says, I want you to play on this record, because I literally had another thing and I passed on that. Like I said, the first thing, you know, the first record that was so big, you know, so that's a whole other story, a whole other podcast. But Matt and I have this bond, you know, and I love him dearly. He saw me play on Conan O'Brien on that Juliana Hatfield show, and he was on tour, and he saw it and he went, that's my drummer. That's going to be my drummer. My first time ever, literally weeks out of college. And he went, and the guys in the band were from North Texas.
Right.
And they were like, that's Sutter. And he's like, so when I met him finally, he was like, you're Sutter. You played on Conan O'Brien. I was like, yeah, like years later. It was like, seriously, dude, it was nuts, right?
That's so cool.
So fast forward, here we are, and I'm playing on this track, and we finished playing on the track. He's stoked, and we do the tracks, and I'm about to leave, and he said, I wasn't going to tell you before, but Neil Peart's already on 2 tracks on the record. I didn't want to make you nervous. And I'm like, mind blown, right? Because Neil doesn't play on, he's played on like 2 other records, you know what I mean? Ever.
Yeah.
So that's super cool. So fast forward to the record comes out, and we go on that tour. I do that tour with him, and he and Neil are like best friends now. They're doing like men's getaway. He's flying up to, you know, to Toronto for like Montreal or Toronto for like a month at a time. It's just dudes on camping trips and bike trips and car trips. And
Yep.
They're like bro downs. I'm just like, what's going on, dude? This is insane, you know? And he's like, I don't know, but he's awesome and we're friends. And so anyway, he's like, dude, Rush is playing at Nokia, the arena. I got tickets. You should come. I was like, cool. So I go to the show, and we're in the show, and we're watching the show from like the middle of the arena, cool seats. And then there's an intermission. You know, they stop. Rush was famous for like being one of the first to like, we don't have a headliner anymore. We're just doing 2 sets, you know?
Right.
So the second set, Matt's like, I got better tickets for the second set, but I like to watch it from the back. I'm like, but you got 2 sets of tickets? He's like, yeah. We walked down, we were literally front row. Like front row, like Geddy Lee is like, I can touch his foot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Matt's now, we're sitting next to like Matt's, like Neil's wife and her parents who were like in their 80s, and like Neil's bodyguard that he goes everywhere with. And we're like in the, you know, and those seats were just sitting there all along. Matt just likes to see the show in the middle because it's on, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And I said, dude, this is the closest I'm ever going to get to Rush. And he said, no, it's not. And the show ends. And next thing you know, we're in the elevator with the security and the family and the wife. And we're like going down, and we come around the corner, and you come around the corner, you can see Alex Lifeson and you can see Geddy Lee, and they're like hanging out, toweling off, and they're going to have a green room where either they hang and meet everybody. It's LA. It's going to be a zoo. But we go right. And then we go, it's like Get Smart. Like we go through like 50, like, you know, down and another 50. And we go end up in literally the armpit of the arena. And there's a little door with a little room, and they open it up, and there's Neil sitting there with his like wife and a glass of like Macallan. And that's it. And it's like, you could fit like 6 people in this room. And he makes some joke about, I was like, well, how do you think of that show? You know, Matt asks, and he says, like, he makes some joke about like a hockey game. You know, I think the first quarter we did okay. By the second, I thought we scored a few goals, and then by the end, you know, it was like kind of funny. And then in comes Danny Carey from Tool and his girlfriend.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
So now it's me, Matt, Danny Carey, his girlfriend, Neil Peart, his wife, and her best friend, and maybe her 80-year-old parents, his wife, and that's it. And the room's filled. And I'm sitting there, and Matt says, "Hey, by the way, this is Jason. He's a drummer." And Neil's like, "Oh, very nice to meet you." You know, and Neil's like 6 feet. You know, he's like 7 feet tall. He's way bigger than you think. You know,
right?
And his voice is very low, and he's you know, and he's just destroyed you on stage. I'm just like, holy shit, this is so crazy. And everybody's chitting and chatting and talking and kind of whatever. And then he says, "Oh, by the way, Neil, you know," a little lull, he says, "Jason's the drummer on the record." And Neil just like pushes everybody. It just like literally like just grabs me and is like, "Oh my God." He's like, "You're the drummer on the record?" He's like, he's like, I love your playing. He's like, "I love what you did on that record." He's like, "Oh, well, what's the song? What's the he's like, "Matt," and he's like, "Yeah, the bass drum pattern and where you're doing the hi-hat." He's like, "I could never do that." And I'm like,
"Oh, really?"
Like, this is happening first,
yeah.
You know, and we go through this, and I'm literally like, and Matt is over behind us, just laying back on the couch, like dying laughing. Just knowing that, like, I'm shitting my pants, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And he goes on, and he literally takes each song, and it turns out what Matt was doing was, while Matt was writing this record and finishing each track, he would send them to Neil, and Neil would like mull them over and you know, and like go back to him and say, "I really like how this is, but what if you added a little, and I love the groove on the, but what if it was," and then in turn, Neil is mailing Matt the manuscript to each chapter of this new book. So they have this incredible like loving relationship of this artistic endeavors. You know, it's like they're both really like, you know, just the coolest relationship.
Yeah,
you know, like
that's awesome.
So cool.
That's
and
awesome.
Somehow I am in the middle of this shit. It's just like, what? Like Neil Peart is not just listening to this; he's mulling over each verse of these songs and going back to Matt with this eloquent like description of what he, you know, it's just like hard to fathom, right? So we end up having this whole conversation, and Neil is like down the rabbit hole with these parts and things, and which he hates talking about drums, and all we're talking about is drums. It's like I'm one of the few drummers that he's like talking about drums with, and Matt is just like rolling, legs in the air on his back, you know, like dying silently, you know. And at the end, Neil says, "Well, I just want you to know, as a musician, I will forever hold you in my highest esteem. That your playing was incredible." And that was the last thing Neil Peart ever said to me, ever. And shortly after that, he's talking to Danny Carey and he's doing whatever. And shortly after that, Matt kind of came over and said, "Do you want to go say hi to Getty and Alex real quick?" They're huge Chris Cornell fans, you know, I think I was touring with at the time, I don't know, or whatever. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." You know, like, get me out of here. He knew I was like, "Get me out of here," like before I do something stupid, like walk over everybody, or like, you know what I mean, literally shit my pants.
Yeah.
And so we leave, and it's like, bye. And we open the door, and as we walk out of this tiny room, down the hallway, waiting patiently, are probably, and I'm not exaggerating, 40 of the biggest drummers in the world.
Yeah.
Like Taylor Hawkins is right there at, you know, Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers,
right?
Like Greg Bissonette from David Lee Roth. Like you can just go down. Like I'm not kidding. Jose from Incubus, like Ray Luzier from Korn.
Korn, yeah.
I mean, it's like literally 40 of the biggest drummers in the world are waiting patiently in line to talk to Neil Peart, and probably not about drums.
Right.
You know,
right.
And I'm walking out of here going in my mind thinking, I literally just hung out with this dude and he just was talking about my drumming the whole time.
Right.
And these guys it was just this moment in life. And it was just like slight panic attack, but not like crazy, like sweating. And then I went and met like Geddy Lee, and he was just super fun. And Alex is a joy, and we shot the shit. And they were just like, it was like hundreds of people around that, all who's who in industry and badges, and it was whole different thing, food, and drinks. And we leave and we walk outside, and Matt and I literally had like a moment of me just like sitting down, like. And him just cracking up, rolling in the street for like probably 10 minutes of like what must be going through my mind, right? Like the processing. And so we leave, and it was amazing. And the next day I'm like at a traffic light, and literally like a cold sweat just runs down my body of like terror, and then joy, and then elate. And I believe it was like what a panic attack feels like. Luckily, I don't experience that ever, but I know people do. But it was like a moment of like, at a traffic light of like, what the like the momentous occasion that just occurred of like my whole life going through this and having that experience with this person.
That's awesome.
Dude, you need to write a book.
Yeah.
It was outrageous. And I will say one other time I was playing, I got to meet Bubba, who was his tech, that, and we bonded over that. And years later, as I was on tour with Manson, and I was going to see Rush play at Summerfest in Wisconsin, and my cousin was there. We had a week off, and so I was going to go there and see the show. And Bubba heard from someone and said, "Hey, why don't you come? Would you want to come get a tour of the kit?" And I thought, I'm good, but my cousin is a huge drummer and drum fan, Matt Lieben. He's a first call killer player in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he's my age, and we've been drum geeks since we were kids. And his son was like, I don't know, 12 or 13, and I thought, they'll love this. We're gonna do this, right? So we go to do it, and we do it, and I remember he said, "Hey, you could go meet Neil." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm never meeting Neil ever again, ever. Like, I don't ever want to."
I'm going to tell you my story.
Thank you. We got pictures with them, and we did that, and we just went out in the audience. We watched the show, and I will never ever do that again. I'm good for life. I got to do that. You know what I mean? So it was like it was one of those things. It was a really cool moment where it was like
awesome
in life where you're like, I don't need to.
Have you ever thought of playing the Bubba Fest?
I don't know anything about that. But
that is
he was very sweet, but yeah.
That's the Neil Peart.
He said I could go get him, and I was like, no, we're good.
Yeah, they have once a year some promoters out in I want to say they're in Michigan, but they also do they put together production for the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame out in Anaheim right around the same time that NAMM is going on. But the same couple that produced that gig do the Bubba Fest, and it's all drummers coming in, and the whole evening is like Mike Portnoy and guys like that are playing Neil's greatest works. And,
right. Yeah. I mean, I did the Bonzo Bash for years, and that was like, I think I'm good. And I'd like to, I'm at the point, I don't know how that comes out, but I'm at the point where I'd rather let like the next dudes go do those and get exposure. You know what I mean? Like I like clearing a little space for the new dudes to go do a lot of that.
Actually,
obviously
I stand corrected. It is the Bonzo Bash, not the Bubba Bash. It's the Bonzo Bash.
Yeah, Bonzo Bash.
Kathy,
so that was, I did that. It was at its peak, and now I think it's kind of, it's kind of run its course. But it was a great exposure for me and so many guys where I could get up and play a Zeppelin tune and have Chad Smith go like, "Hey, you're good," Yeah. And it's like, "Thank you, Chad," and then he knows your name the next time. And it's a great way to it was a great way to get validity, where you get up and you just play music, which is, I hate that like people get to know people here this way. I never wanted to be known for anything but just playing.
Mm-hmm.
And saying, so I always appreciated getting to do that. Was just like, like as Joe says, let the music do the talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Let the music do the talking. That's my motto. That's it. Just let the music do the talking. Everything will be fine.
Yep.
And that, as I've gotten older, I wish I learned that lesson. That's really the gold standard, the music, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes you a long time to figure that out, but I'm glad that as I'm getting older and going through this and playing with all these great bands, that's my first thought. Where's the music going? How are they honoring the music? Are they doing it right? How are they listening? How are they playing? Let the music do the talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Jason, I gotta tell you that this whole we could have 3 other episodes with you, and I would love to just keep talking. This is one of the. I love the fact that you're from this area.
Yep.
I even though it's still 80 miles away or whatever. I mean, or more than that, 100
whatever.
Miles away. But still, you're a Central New York guy.
I love it. I cherish it, man. I'm so fortunate. I'm so fortunate.
And all I could see is when you're telling that story with Neil.
Oh,
is I could picture the kid standing on top of the meter, peeking into watching jazz bands play, and running a guitar or running a music store at 15. I mean, if that's not fucking rock and roll, if that is not the song jukebox hero in a small essence, that is it.
Yeah, that's it, man. It's it. And but it's because I love music. I've always loved music. I love music more than ever. Yeah. I literally do have like 4 copies of everything. You know what I mean? And I went record shopping yesterday, and it's like, what the hell are you listening to? You know what I mean? It's like this is what I bought. Literally, they're here because they're on deck. It's like, okay, this guy, right? First Clash record. Then you have like John Coltrane ballads with Elton Jones.
Nice.
And this is Jim Marshall's photograph, who I have a portrait of by this guy with this camera. Jim Marshall, who shot another whole different genre by a great artist, and a photograph you've seen called Johnny Cash, where he's like, that is the same photographer, right?
Oh, no,
it was a friend of mine who took a portrait of me because I do that. This is another weird one. These are just sitting here. This is like Robin Trower's first record. I don't know why I'm into Robin Trower all of a sudden, because I never heard that before. And then I have a box set of this, and I listen to this all the time. True is literally. It's really well done. It's like the music of the Native American.
Yes, I've seen
and it's
that.
like literally all songs recorded of like different, like there's like 10 different tribes from like the Lakota to the Kiowa to the it's just the music of the. Anyway, that's what I'm listening to because it all works. You know what I mean? For me.
Did it come? Did it come with your friend that's hanging on the walls behind you? Or?
Yeah, that dude, man. Yeah, that's for real, man. There he is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a real. That's called a shoulder mount. So that guy's legit, man.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, he's big time.
The boys from Tallis probably want one of those on their wall.
They may. They may.
Who is it?
I said the guys from Tallis probably want that on the wall, being from Buffalo.
Yep, they're from Buffalo.
Yeah. Heavy duty, babe. It doesn't get more rock and roll than a Buffalo,
Got plastic.
But anyway, no, the music.
Shut up.
The music. The music just never is always exciting. The gear is fun. The record covers are fun. The artwork, I collect the photography. That's a big part of my thing. And art. I like buy this. This is. But it all is influenced by the music, and the art is influenced by the music, and the music is influenced by the art, and it doesn't get old. You know what I mean? Like I remember my dad saying when I was little, if you wake up every day, and there's something, the smallest thing that excites you, be thankful. You know what I mean? And follow it, run after it. Just keep, go after it so that because some people wake up and they just don't have anything that excites them anymore.
Right.
And that's the human condition. We have that. It's okay. You might get it back, but you might not, and there are some great rock stars that we know that we've even talked about on here that wake up every day and go like, I hate my life. I hate my band. I hate I hate everything. And it's like, dude, like there are dudes who would do anything for like an ounce of what you had. And so it's not just having the success, it's appreciating it and appreciating the arc that it takes to get there, and appreciating the downtime. If you're not working, don't give up. If you can't, like another great drummer, I think it was Dave Weckl said once, he said in a clinic, I remember, and I'll never forget, he said, if you can do anything else, if you're good at anything else other than music, just do it. Don't do music. Only do music if it's the only thing you can do, and you have to do it because it's in your heart, and then go and then do it. Because otherwise you're going to have a rough ride, and it's not all easy, man. It's not all easy. It's rough. And then you go through these mental points, and then you go through these, the shit you hear about in the business, it's a rough business, man. Like you gotta cut some of these dudes some slack, and like I said, like you gotta, it's a tough, man. You can get caught up in this shit, and you're trying to gig and you're trying to work, and somebody you met like 10 years ago may be a totally different person than they are now, because they went like, holy shit, what was I thinking? Like, I didn't mean to be that dude. I didn't mean to be that guy. I'm sorry if I was that guy. You know what I mean? It's a tough business, man. But, I'm so glad I've done it, and I've done what I've done so far. And if I ended up becoming like, a janitor, nothing wrong with being a janitor, and that's what I did for the next 20 years of my life, I would be fine with that, because of all the bands I just listed off that I got to do. Like, that gratitude and that the sheer getting to, it's all about playing the music, really, too. It's not just, you know what I mean? Like, because I can't do that for you now, but you go on YouTube and watch it.
Yeah.
But like, I got to play that music. There's great footage of, like I said, the Foreigner live at the iTunes Festival was a great, Chris Cornell, a whole show in Argentina, of that era. That's just spot on, great sound. Manson, you can see Manson live at the Rock am Ring or Rock am Park German festivals. And there's a great footage of us playing with Johnny Depp with Manson at the, Revolver or whatever Metal Magazine Awards. If you look that up, like, it's really a cool performance, and it's like one of the first things we did. But these are all things I'm saying because they're recorded well.
Yeah.
Okay. But like, the point is like, that's the shit that really matters. That's the shit that matters. And now we're just talking about like the dust settling on that stuff, but there's a lot more to come. I think I'm playing drums better than I ever have. I'm excited to go into the next project, whatever it is. With all this great, because the more you do these gigs, I feel like the more you grow, and the more the better you get at everything, not just the music and life,
Yep.
I got to tell you, Jason, you've definitely probably been one of the coolest guys we've interviewed, not just because you're on here.
You
but
can say coolest. It's
you are.
Okay.
You are the cool. No, you are.
Coolest.
And I told Jeff, you and I had almost an hour conversation. I was waiting for a train coming out of New York City.
Oh, right.
And I'm at the Moynihan train station, the new Penn station.
Yeah.
I hung up the phone with you. I called him. I'm like, dude, I can't wait till he gets on the show, because he's just such a fucking great, nice guy. And the people that influenced or that recommended you be on the show, you guys are the same caliber. They're just good people. And
honestly, I'm flattered. It's sweet of you to say. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just been a cool ride, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a cool ride, and I appreciate what you guys are doing, and that you're from, like I said, from my hometown, because that means a lot to me now. And it's like, it's interesting that like people understand where we're from now. Before it was like North Country. What do you mean? Like Woodstock? Like, no.
Yeah.
And now people know, like, when you can say Adirondacks, and if you say Syracuse, people, thanks to phones and little things that have, that people know where that is now, and it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. Like, Adirondack style, Ralph Lauren clothing line. It's like, it's an influence, the whole style of like a way of life, and a way of like, it's like, it's cool to be from up there, and I, like I said, I it's all about your roots, if you forget about your roots, but like, I all the things that I've been able to do and learned, it's thankfully because I grew up in such a cool area where people were real and shit was real. Yeah. And
well,
if you stayed outside for too long, you'd die.
So well, still can. You still can.
Survival was real, so you got to learn like legit like ropes, like you fuck around, you die.
Yes. I can play music, and then sometimes I have to rub my sticks together just to get a fire for heat.
Yeah,
that's.
I remember there was nights for people who don't really know what we're talking about. Like, it's like equatorial with like Norway. Like, we would have like, I remember having like the Northern Lights. Like, holy shit, like like the sky's dripping. Like, that's like Norway shit.
Yeah.
And I remember like one night where it was like, it's going to be 20 below zero. And they had to like make announcements everywhere all the time, because college students would get really drunk and like go bar hopping. And it was like, you can't go do that tonight or you'll die.
Yeah.
Like, one wrong move,
it's all over.
Die.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's where we came from.
That's right.
It is exactly where we came from.
And luckily
we earned those direct subs. Damn it.
He's not lying.
I know.
I'll tell you what. I would walk in. I love direct subs. I would walk in like 20 20 below zero, weather to get a direct sub. Whenever I go home, I go, and whenever I'm in Syracuse, I go get a direct sub. So,
you better let us know next time you're in this area.
Hashtag direct subs.
Direct subs. Okay.
That's it. I'm sending direct subs a bill.
No. Yeah, right.
I want one free sub.
Right. But the next time you're in town,
yes,
you have to let us know, and we're going.
Yeah, it's on us.
Yep.
All right, you guys want to break the bank, man?
Dude, whatever.
You can get extra meat.
Yeah, right.
I have literally stayed near the campus, and you know where the direct subs is. I walked there.
Get the fuck.
Oh my God.
I walked there. It was like I walked 2 miles to get to
you did.
I walked like 2 miles from. They were like, "Wait, there's a Drex near here," and I was staying, and I had like it was like Vertical Horizon, and we were playing that. You were playing that night in Syracuse, and I remember it was like, I'm gonna walk because I walk. I'm from New York.
Yeah,
walk,
exactly.
So I'm like, I'm gonna walk to direct subs because there wasn't Uber at the time, and I don't know about cabs. So I just said I'm gonna go, and I went.
That's cool.
So I did that. I actually
awesome.
If we knew a way to send you one now, we would.
Oh, dude,
but
absolutely.
It probably wouldn't be good. After.
No, it would not.
All good. I can dream.
Thank you so It's all about setting the bar high.
It is.
I had sushi in Japan. Fuck that. Where's my direct subs? That's
yeah.
That's why you gotta love this guy.
Yep.
I actually had sushi at Jiro in Japan, which is like, the
Michelin
documentary,
star.
know? Like I got to do that, which was pretty darn cool. I had like the Japanese girl like make reservations like 3 months early and order in Japanese, get me in there in the It was amazing. Just saying.
Yeah, that's cool.
I did do that, but I did it at that level, and Durex to me is at the Jiro level.
Yeah, I had my last California roll from the mobile gas station.
Yeah, down the block,
nice.
Just down the street.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Dude.
Anyway, I'm just trying to put the bar. I'm not trying to.
There you go,
dude. I appreciate
the level. Like I appreciate the food and the experience. It's all part of it. I'm never in my hotel room. I'm out, and I'm trying everything.
Good for you.
Cool, man.
Yeah, that's how we are.
Drex is up there. Anyway, sorry. You
No,
guys are going to end this talking about Drex. So I'm sorry.
That's all good. That's all good. Dude, stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna roll out with our outro here, but then we're gonna once we stop the recording, we're gonna come back for 1 second. So,
all right,
there you go.
Hit it.
I'm hitting it. Oh yeah, been listening to the good,
The band,
the ugly. I'm Big Papa,
and I'm Jeff.
Dude, Jason Sutter. Thank you so much. We want to thank our sponsors: Sharky's Event Center, DJ Life's the Beach,
Good Nature Brewery, Uncle Jimmy's live local music,
Print Shop Underground,
Snarky Productions,
Coffee
and
Break Toffee. Oh wait,
and Ultimate Ears.
Ultimate Ears, which you will see all day. The logo will be down here.
Day.
Thanks to our friends at Ultimate Ears. They'll be coming on the show and talking about their good shit too. So coming up next week, we've got more good stuff.
Yeah, we do.
And I'm not going to give it away.
No, don't.
Be good to each other. Thank you guys. God bless you for listening. And remember, be nice to each other.
We are all we got.
That's it. Peace.
Recording stopped.